Ho, 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 and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today we're going to talk about That Christmas. Not This Christmas, that's a different movie, but That Christmas. It's very confusing, and they're in no way related to each other. So, this one is actually written by Richard Curtis, who wrote Love Actually. So, if you like your sort of romantic Christmas themed movies, he went in a different direction. This is for kids. This is an animated movie. It's got a really strong voice cast, though. Brian Cox, who I love, is Santa in this. It's just, I'm not going to make it weird, but thank you. Bill Nye's in this. Um, uh, there were Fiona Shaw, Jodie Whittaker, Rhys, Darby. Who else was in this? Lovely Adibia. Yeah, there's a bunch of British talent in here, and fleshing out the cast. Um, it's a sort of an amalgamation of stories. It's actually adapted from a couple little short stories, so he put them all together so it feels a little bit like Love Actually, like there are a couple different things happening. There's a pageant happening, and they pay for the rights to a lot of pop songs, and you've got kids singing songs that maybe they shouldn't be singing. There's a story with a girl who maybe is on the naughty list, but maybe she does the right thing at the last moment, and ends up swinging things in her way to be on the nice list, and then Santa has to try to get to her to make sure that she gets her presents. But there's a snowstorm. There's at one point the kids are separated from the parents. There's a lot going on here. It feels like Love Actually for kids at Christmas, animated, because Richard Curtis is really trying to balance that like multi-narrative structure that he balanced really well in Love Actually. Luckily, we have audio description. Thank God, because this movie is a bit all over the place narratively because of that. You know how, I mean, Love Actually would be, uh, like conceptually, I haven't seen it without audio description, but I think it would be really weird. I mean, I saw it before, so I like understand where the movie's going, but I think if I had walked into that movie the way that it's structured with its broad ensemble cast and the jumping around of plot lines, I think that would be a bitch to follow. Shout out to Emma Thompson, who broke my fucking heart. I always, like, one of the things that I would love to have seen happen would have been Emma Thompson nominated for that. I don't usually like people who are nominated for very small roles, but that scene when she finds the jewelry and then later on realizes that it wasn't for her, was it hit me like a ton of bricks back in the day. I was just like, she's so good in this scene. In this like fluffy rom-com, you've got Emma Thompson who's just acting her face off. Anyway, um, but in That Christmas, we have Brian Cox as Santa, and that's enough to just make me please as punch. I may be watching this film a lot. But yeah, its structure's a little bit messy, but it does kind of feel like um, he's trying for something here. And is it a new holiday classic? I don't know. The thing about new movies is really hard to gauge whether or not it's a holiday classic until you actually start rewatching it. Like you can't just like a movie; you actually have to feel compelled to rewatch it again. So it's almost impossible to say whether or not this one's going to be. You can say that, like people walk around and they'll be like, that one's going to be on my list forever, and then they'll never rewatch it again. Um, so when people talk to me about one of my holiday classics, my go-tos, the truth is that the newest one that I've actually seen like on repetition would be like Rise of the Guardians. There are a couple others that I've seen maybe a second time, like Spirited. But I don't consider the fact that I've seen Spirited twice since it came out the big kind of new holiday classic for me. It's kind of new. Twice is also kind of a lot considering I don't have a lot of time to rewatch a ton of movies. So it is somewhat impressive, but at the same time, so where do I think that Christmas is going to fit in? I don't know. You know, I I think I've seen Klaus twice. I think I'll watch this again at some point, but I don't feel like immediately compelled to rewatch this 1,000 times, except for the fact that I do love everything that Brian Cox ever does. So that's a strong contender for me in a direction. I'm always wearing my bias on my on my sleeve, and I would. Brian Cox is a great way. If you want to make a shitty movie, just put Brian Cox in it, and I'll never fail it. I would never fail a Brian Cox movie. D minus is as low as it goes. He could be in the worst fucking movie. He could star in a movie that looked like it was made by 5-year-olds, and I would still be like D minus. I'm not doing it. I'm not giving him an F. Um. So, yeah, it's not my favorite thing in the world, and it is voice acting for him, but it's also him playing Santa, which is like just brilliant casting. And the rest of the voice cast does a lot of work here for the adults, but it's really, I feel like the kids are the focus here. So the fact that it has a strong voice cast of adults doesn't necessarily really support the movie because it's not really about the adults. This is a holiday. It's animation, so it's of course it's gonna lean for kids. Kids don't want to watch the parents in this thing. They want to watch the versions of themselves. Like, what are the kids doing? They're going to be really interested in this girl and see how she moves off the naughty list. So they're gonna be interested in the reindeer and getting to Santa's story, and is he gonna get through this blizzard that's striking this town, like the worst storm they've ever had, and be able to deliver these presents. And there's little twists and turns around the way. It moves pretty quickly. I don't think this movie was 90 minutes. If it was, kudos, because it felt like it was maybe an hour 15. Like, that's what it felt like to me. I felt like I was in this movie and it just was over, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, this felt like a really short, like technically feature length movie, but just like it wasn't going to waste its time on you. If anything, it feels like it's going to waste its time at the beginning because there's this talent show thing that they're trying to put together where the kids are like singing these different songs, and you're like, is this what is this? Like, what? But then when the movie really gets rolling, then it just kind of like pedal to the metal. So at the beginning, you're like, oh, well, this is gonna be an averagely paced movie. No, but it's pretty quick. It gets through the story pretty quickly. So, yeah, I would be shocked if the runtime was over 90 minutes because it felt shorter. So the audio description here was pretty good. I don't really have any problems with it. There wasn't anything that I thought like, ooh, I didn't follow that, or oh my god, I didn't understand that. Yeah, I don't think this is breaking new ground in terms of animation, and I don't think it's necessarily going to crack many homes into the like, ooh, let's watch that again next year. But for people who like to try to watch new things with their kids, here's an animated film. And I'll tell you, Brian Cox or no Brian Cox, this movie is better than Christmas in Wonderland. The Night Before Christmas in Wonderland. That movie's hot garbage. So, yeah, between the two new animated Christmas movies that I've already seen this year, this one wins. Not the best animated feature of the year by a long shot. Wouldn't even earn a top 5 spot. I don't even think this would earn a top 5 spot for me. So, maybe, I don't know, might be 5th, maybe. But I think I still have some animation I still need to see. So, that's very contingent. But it is what it is. I do like the fact that it has audio description, and there's maybe like a movie that's technically better than this that doesn't have audio description. So, we'll see. But if you're looking for something new and fresh this Christmas, you could do worse. And actually, I think audiences agree because it's one of those rare Netflix movies that doesn't have a tanked score. It's like a 6.9 on IMDb right now, which is pretty good for a Netflix original. It's not quite up there with Klaus, but the trolls be trolling, you know what I'm saying? Like, Netflix movies usually get tanked. I don't even flinch anymore when I see a Netflix movie in the fives because I'm like, well, that's an average Netflix movie. Like, I'm just like, and, you know, six feels like it's a good Netflix movie. Like the audience is, and it's if you can get above a seven, you're like a classic Netflix movie. You know, you're you know, it's one of those things where if you remove the Netflix stigma, you'd probably have awards consideration or something. But um, yeah, I think people just immediately think because it's Netflix that it can't be as good as something else. So I'm gonna give that Christmas. I'm gonna give it a B. You know, last year I had Merry Little Batman, which ended up being this beautiful surprise for me, a movie that I love dearly, and that movie has a great chance of probably not. I don't think I have time this year to rewatch it, but just sort of like Spirited. I it wasn't the next year after, it was the year after I saw Spirited again. So I think next year I'll be up for Merry Little Batman, but that one has a chance of maybe sticking its claws into my holiday traditions. I don't know about this, but I like it. So, like it enough. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.